Welcome. I am Professor Platania. I am the chair of the psychology department at Roger Williams University, and I'm happy to have you with us this afternoon. The weather turned out to be lovely, although we are all still somewhat confined, aren't we? Let me tell you a little bit about the psychology department, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions, so if any come up, just jot them down, and we can spend some time after the presentation, which isn't entirely that long, answering your questions. Well, one of the most important questions that we get from students and families is why choose Roger Williams with respect to psychology? And we offer three areas that we're very proud of, and that is our curriculum, our faculty, and our resources. This is generally speaking of Roger Williams, but when we speak specifically about psychology, there are some fine features that we like to boast about. First of all, we are the #1 liberal arts major with fall of 2019. 287 students majoring in psychology at the undergraduate level. We have a very high number of undergraduate students that carry a psychology core concentration, and I'm sure you have learned or you will learn what that means to carry a core concentration in an area of liberal arts. And we also have a significant number, we're one of the top 3 areas in the liberal arts school for minors in psychology. And you'll learn as well, and some of your questions may come up, what majors work nicely with psychology with respect to double majors and minors. And resources, we are very proud to be a student-centered faculty, and we conduct a great deal of research with our students, and we have access to a great deal of resources that help our research experiences as well as our classroom experiences be very enjoyable for our undergraduate majors. So what is it like to major in psychology at Roger Williams? The curriculum is not complicated. It has just been expanded to establish both breadth and depth across many different categories. This is like many undergraduate colleges and universities with thriving psychology majors. It's very important that students get a balanced education in areas in psychology. Those areas or those categories cover biological, applied, developmental, diversity, and clinical. And we have a significant number of courses within each of those categories that are represented very well every semester for students to choose the balance between 200 and 300 levels so that you are in fact obtaining not only the depth of experience within a category, but also the breadth of cross categories. We have a number of required courses, if you can see my little cursor there, and those are for all of our majors. We require that you take these 4 classes that you see on the left, and each of those builds, so in other words, your foundation, introduction to psychology, which is a course. If you enter as a psychology major, these classes are somewhat reduced in numbers, and we do that so that students that major in psychology are in a class with other students that are majoring in psychology, and we start early in your academic endeavor to focus on learning outcomes that we think are important to you as a psychology major. How do you read a research paper? How would you understand an abstract? How would you think about research? So those are the kinds of questions that, while general psychology students might have a broad brushstroke, what we want you to do is get a more full understanding when you come out of this particular class. Next is a statistics for psychology majors. We have a prerequisite requirement, which is the equivalence of a basic statistics course, Math 124, or any course that could be higher. So if you are taking a calculus class or an advanced stats class, you can move into quantitative analysis quite smoothly. From there, research methods, that is our junior level required class. And then finally, experimental psychology, which is a 4-credit capstone class in a foundation area that has 7 contact hours. You meet 3 hours a week for lecture, and you meet one 3-hour class, so it's 6 hours for your lab. And what that class entails is actually participating in the experimental process, learning how to conduct research from beginning to end. It's a course. These courses are all offered every single semester, 2 sections of each. So all of our majors have an equal opportunity to get into these classes. Our classes that are the foundation in psychology, this is a real important point to many individuals who are looking at other schools. What sizes are your classes? Our foundation classes do not increase 24. Our intro for majors is 20, and these 3 do not go above 24. It's our decision that the best way to deliver these classes that are critical to you is to keep the focus of a smaller number, and it allows us a greater degree to interact with students more individually than larger classes. In fact, as you are making your way through the curriculum, you'll find that none of your psychology classes will increase above 30. And that is only to go above 30 with the approval from the instructor and then ultimately the department chair. We have an experiential component to our major, which is a senior level requirement, and our students are required to participate in either a research practicum or an internship or an honors thesis. The honors thesis has a prerequisite of a course that we call research in psychology. These are issues that you begin to discuss with your advisor when you are first semester juniors. Which would you like? 90% and more of our undergraduate students choose an internship. That internship process requires 120 hours of a field placement experience while you meet once a week with a full-time faculty member to discuss for 1 hour your experiences in the field. And that is a 400 level class reserved for seniors. And we have a career placement center that works very well with many of our majors that have internship experiences to help place you into an experience. So you work with them, tell them what kind of population you like. You may have experience before you come in. You say, I would like to continue working with children. And that is their job to help you align with a site that would be likely to give you the best possible experience. Each of these are 1 semester classes. They're not 1-year requirements. If you're determined to, by the time you're a 2nd semester junior, you're thinking about whether you would like to go to graduate school or begin to work in the field, what we find as faculty are those students who are telling us that they are interested in a graduate program and it's a research program. They would be more inclined to take this choice. This research practicum is working with a faculty member on a particular research project. It's the same amount of credits as these other, and this is an individualized focus between the faculty member and the student in a research area that will give you, for example, a good writing sample for graduate program, give you somewhat of a background in terms of how to apply for human subjects review. So it serves a little bit of a different purpose than this. This is a practical application. This is more of a research. Some students ask if they can do both. And the answer is yes, of course. If you have time in your curriculum, and again, we are not a major that requires a great number of credits such that students are bogged down. Our major has always been one that has enhanced opportunities for students to do abroad classes, enhanced opportunities for students to double major, because we're not so full of required classes that you can't expand your interest in other areas. And so if you're interested and you say, each of these are important to me, you would work with your faculty advisor to be able to have a schedule such that you would be able to consider both of these experiences. And again, honors theses are reserved for students with a particular GPA, and you would also have thought about that in your junior year, because the prerequisite research is something you would do in your fall semester of your senior year. I'll talk a little bit more about it as we get further on, but our faculty are very much involved in vast research programs. We love nothing more than working with students on our research programs, and there are so many opportunities for undergraduates in general at Roger Williams, but specific to our program, where students work with faculty on ideas of their own or advancing faculty ideas. And the nice part about it is that we have a fund offered through the provost where students can obtain money for presenting their research at conferences. And that type of funding includes conference membership, registration, whether you have a flight accommodation, hotel accommodations, and students, undergraduate students, travel and present their research, sometimes internationally. So it's very, very much resource-based for students who are interested in research. The final capstone course is a seminar in psychology, and that is going to be separate from a senior seminar. This particular class is designed to expand particular areas in knowledge and experience and fully develops your learning outcomes depending on the particular type of class. So for example, if a faculty member steps up and says, I would like to teach a seminar, professor, in the spring, I say, what's your area of interest? And they would say cognitive psychology. So a seminar in cognitive psychology might include topics like eyewitness identification, a topic like the Innocence Project. And the professor who has experience and knowledge in this field would take this information and give you readings on it and discussion periods on it. And as a seminar, it's a smaller class and you have an opportunity to work with a professor in a particular area that after you've been through in all of your classes, this is a course that kind of tops it all off for you. And there are, again, 2 of each sections, fall and spring, and they are also 20 students each section, and we do not go above 20 in our capstone course. And again, here, as I mentioned earlier, here are our 5 areas. You work with your advisor, and your audit that will be on your advisor page in Rogers Central will walk you through all of the classes that you need from the time that you enter until the last semester before you graduate. And within that, you will see exactly what courses the psychology department offers within each category: cognitive psychology, introduction to neuroscience, sensation and perception, evolutionary psychology, animal behavior. Those are some of the examples in our cognitive course selection: developmental, child development, the psychology of adulthood, psychology of the family, emerging adulthood. In clinical and psychopathology, there is introduction to clinical psychology, theories of personality, psychopathology, forensic psychology, substance abuse. Those are the areas in the clinical. Diversity, multiculturalism, themes in cultural psychology, and applied are courses like health psychology, legal psychology, and the psychology of work, and social psychology. So those are the areas. And we, this year, recently requested that those categories be expanded to include even more of our catalog courses, so we don't find that our students have issues registering for courses and satisfying their requirements in those areas. And above this are 6 elective credits that you can take from anywhere, and they can be any level. Here we require that at least 3 be at the 300 level. And again, with the experiential learning, that focuses on research with the faculty and/or hands-on experiences. Some of the experiential learning focus classes that appear regularly in our schedules are the courses of Child and Family Policy and our Children's Mental Health class, which has consistently been offered abroad during the winter intersession, and it deals specifically with community mental health in Jamaica. And it has been, I think, in our curriculum now for about 7 years. And Assistant Dean Spritz takes students to Jamaica, and it's expanded into quite a global service learning experience. And students are anywhere from, I think, 8 to 14 students accompany Professor Spritz on that winter intercession excursion, and the reports have been significant with respect to the learning environment and the experience that they gain. And Dr. Turner typically teaches child and family policy. And this course, students analyze public policies and programs related to children and families. And they also involve in a semester-long community-driven service project. And some of them have been Head Start, some elementary school projects in Providence. She has been very diverse with respect to the projects that are offered. But that is a key component of almost all of our majors, experiential learning. It gets a great deal of support from faculty administration throughout the university. In fact, in the spring, when we have our showcase for student academics, many of the presentations are based on experiential learning across many areas in the university. Now, who are we? Who are the psychology faculty? 13 full-time PhD faculty. We have one neuroscientist. All the rest are PhDs in psychology, and our PhDs are varied: clinical psychology, applied psychology, counseling, developmental, from many different areas, and you can see from many different universities. Faculty are interested in research that spans from health psychology to jury decision making. And we have some of our credentials on the web, but if you're ever interested in reaching out to faculty to talk some more about their research, I would encourage you to email them. Just mention that you were on Virtual Accepted Students Day and you thought it would be a great idea to reach out and see what it is that they do. And they're happy to, faculty love to talk about their research, so they'd be happy to share their findings with you, tell you about the ways that you can join their research lab. And there's no better time than getting in on the ground floor to work with faculty on research. And let's see where we are here. And here are our research areas. Again, as I said, health psychology, developmental, cultural, forensic. Forensic is very interesting to students at the undergraduate and the graduate level. And we also have a master's program in forensic and legal psychology. Forensic psychology catches the attention of many, many undergraduate students. And we have 6 clinical psychologists. 4 to 5 have backgrounds in forensic psychology, and they would be happy to talk to you about their research with child offenders, their work in the criminal courts, their work with sexual offenders, assessment of risk, sexually violent persons. Dr. Zychek works on the Community Action Board. And so we have a faculty that are also very expansive with their respect to forensic psychology. But we have faculty that work in the developmental area with aging, and again, as I said, family issues, sociocultural, Dr. Leguisimo and Dr. Brooks. Legal psychology, myself and Dr. Berman, we are legal psychologists. I study attitudes towards the death penalty. He's very interested in eyewitness testimony. Dr. Tooley is a health psychologist. She looks at smoking cessation and well-being. And Dr. Heimer McGinn is our newest hire in neuroscience. And I'm sure there's a few people I'm leaving out, but we're all on the web. We also have a lot of opportunities for psychology students to join organizations. The most popular, of course, there are student organizations, which you'll learn about. Felicia could tell you more about, just generally speaking, what are some of the clubs that are out there. But we have a Senate club that is the Psychology Club. And by Senate, you know, that means that they are recognized and registered within the university, and they have funding, and they're allowed to take those funds and use them for different fundraisers if they want. And we have, of course, your opportunity to belong to an international honor society known as Psi Chi. And that is open for students who major and or minor in psychology. And the criteria, I believe, are successfully earning 12 or more credits in psychology with an overall GPA of 3.3 and a psychology GPA of 3.5. So at the time that you have obtained those criteria, you would reach out to the Psi Chi faculty advisors, and I think they are currently Dr. Conrad, Dr. Heimer McGinn, and Dr. Brooks, and they would direct you to apply. Psi Chi has a website, and then we induct you into the Honor Society. You're a member for life, and it indicates your awareness and appreciation of psychology as a major and identifies you as a scholar. Well, graduate school, again, this is what your advisors are for. We pride ourselves in the fact that we do a very good job preparing our students, not only for the real world, but also for being successful and being successful applicants into graduate programs. In your third year, you begin to think about the kinds of graduate programs you might be interested in applying to. You bring all of that information to your advisor. You and your advisor sit down and you talk about how you approach the next steps. What does it take to write a good letter of intent? How do you develop your resume so that it's welcome to admissions committees at the graduate level? What types of experiences do you have at the undergraduate level that make you appealing to a graduate admissions committee? This is all on the faculty. It's on us to help you work through this time. It's stressful, but it's very, very exciting. You think about what the criteria are, what you're looking forward to, and how you can arrange your academic and professional credentials so that you are a competitive applicant for graduate school. And that includes, and I can't stress this enough, taking advantage of research and internship opportunities that are going to be available, and they are many through our department. Well, where do some of our graduates go when they go into graduate programs? Some PhD, more master's programs. And here are some examples. Tufts University's master's program in child development. This is very recent, I believe. University of Georgia's Master of Market Research. This was an honor student from about 3 years ago who had a business minor and wrote an undergraduate thesis with me, and directing her attention to more marketing and management skills. She found UGA's Master of Market Research, and not only was accepted, but she was accepted with a research assistantship and a full tuition waiver. And I think that the program was 36 credits and about a year and a half. So this was designed to work with me. I was her advisor on how to tailor a program, a master's program that would include all of her interests. Ball State University's master's program in cognitive and social processes. This, we have found, has been a very exciting opportunity. And we have had, I believe, about 5 of our students in the last, I would say 5 to 6 years enter into Ball State's master's program. And it is what we like to say a feeder program into PhD programs. These programs are designed to work with students to enhance their research writing abilities and make them competitive for PhD programs. And so we have been very successful in sending our students to some of these programs that are like this, that are out there in the field. Rick's MA program in school psych, Smith College, Boston University social work, and these are just a few of the programs that our students are accepted into when they graduate. Careers, again, if you're not going to grad school, you're thinking, what's out there for me? Maybe I'm not going to attend graduate school. Well, think about research. There are many lab and/or research assistants at university settings. Here I can say in Rhode Island, Brown University, because they're a grant funded and grant enriched program on many levels, they have some funding to pay students with bachelor's degrees to sign on and conduct research in their laboratory settings. And I can say that Roger Williams Psychology Department does a great job, because as you pass through experimental, you have experience with Human Subjects Review Board, how to test individuals, what it takes to write an informed consent. These are all the qualities that scientific research lab assistants should have in order to be marketable for these kinds of jobs. Nonprofits, case management, child care workers, a lot of marketing research, research assistants in jury consulting firms, working with police officers. And these were just two of the areas that I found that talked about how to get positions, with what positions were open. So you could go to Indeed.com and query bachelor's in psychology and see many of the jobs that are there, as well as psychologyabout.com for careers in psychology, to get a little bit more of a specific idea. Some of the employment, these were, when we stay in touch with our students through LinkedIn, we see many of the opportunities that they have both locally. You can see the Rhode Island Family Court and Bradley Hospital, and nationally in Scottsdale, Arizona. And some of these are on the West Coast as well. And these are just some of the areas that students are working in management. They work as clinical trial directors and coordinators, and they work in many different settings. And here, if you think about where are you getting the skills and the knowledge that you need that employers want, just think about the areas of the categories of research. Social psychology, thinking about attitudes and opinions. Psychology of work, thinking about principles and techniques of personnel selection. How do you think about and solve problems? Cognitive psychology. What about social dynamics? How do individuals interact? Social psychology, workplace environment, learning and memory, the psychology of learning. And some of the skills, well, the skills are equally important. And you can see that these skills I've identified as those that are showing up in your foundation classes: quantitative analysis, research methods, experimental psychology, where a student learns how to present their research, because this is what you do in your poster sessions for the experimental psychology capstone class. Learning how to write reports and/or proposals, all of our foundation classes. So you're not leaving lacking experience in terms of how to think about psychology and how to write about and express areas in psychology, how to form research questions, how to test research questions empirically. It's important, and it helps you through the process of thinking about psychology. And I think that that is about it. Here's my email, but you can email any member of the faculty if you want any more information, or you could ask me if there's any faculty member that I know of that you could email for your interests, because we're excited about what we do. We're excited about working with all of our students. We're an exciting major, and it's a great place to be right now. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So if there's any questions.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask them, or you can just put them right in the chat, and then we can go over them. So you can ask any sort of questions related to the psychology major, the psychology minor, anything in the psychology field. And then I'm kind of here to answer any sort of admission related questions. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to just go ahead and ask. So in the chat, we'll go with the first question. It says, what type of computer would you recommend?
Oh, well, I'm a Mac person.
I was gonna say, I started off and I went through all of Roger Williams with a PC. I think I had like an HP. But then after I graduated, I got a Mac, and now I'm probably never going to buy a PC again. So really, it's your preference. There aren't really any programs that you can't have on one that you couldn't have on the other, or that works on one or the other. So
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's really perfect. All right, let's see, what other questions do we have? Okay. Oh, there's lots of questions coming in. Hang on one sec. What other majors pair well with psychology? Cassidy Mello said she was also thinking about business. So what other majors kind of do you see your students have with psychology?
Well, the most popular double major with psychology currently is criminal justice. That's the most popular double major. Students double major in psych. Second is business. The business, and business is kind of layered where you have management, marketing, economics, and the most, I think, within business is marketing. But we have students who major in dance that double major in psychology. Legal studies major in psychology. It's popular and it's doable, and definitely business could be one of them.
Awesome. Okay, so another question is about the AP statistics test. Do you know off the top of your head if there's a specific score that students would need on that to place out of quantitative analysis? I know I can tell them where to find it on the website, but I just don't know if you know off the top of your head.
I don't know of a way to test out of QA.
Okay.
I do know that you can test out of Math 124, the prerequisite
Sure.
you can test out of.
Okay.
I haven't personally seen it, only with respect to a college level course that's coming in transfer pre-approved. So if it's a course that would be the course equivalent of our Psych 240, absolutely.
Right.
But not that I have seen with AP. AP stats is for stats, would be math. And yes, I've seen students, I don't know what the score actually is, but yes, I've seen students test out of that and go directly into QA. But it hasn't been my experience that unless it's transfer course equivalent to QA, that you would be waived from the requirement.
Yeah, so just in general, because I see a bunch of people asking about like the AP credits and AP classes, usually the registrar is the one that kind of goes over all of that for what it would replace at Roger Williams. They take a look at like what our course descriptions are and what the AP course covers, and then what kind of class it would replace at Roger Williams. But most of the time they'll get you some sort of credits for the AP exam, and you can look for that in the course catalog. It's usually right. I want to tell you because I've looked it up so much. It's on page 50 of the course catalog. So if you have questions about like any sort of classes you're taking at the college level now in high school or AP classes, that would be a good resource for you to use. We have another question that says, what do you think sets RWU's psychology program apart from other schools?
Oh, we hear that a lot.
Yeah.
We hear that, and that's a very, very well-informed question. First thing that comes to my mind, of course, is our faculty to student ratio within the department.
Right.
And that is our low class sizes, and the idea that because we have low class sizes and we're 13 full-time faculty that are committed to teaching courses in our foundation, that the faculty to student ratio allows more engagement. It allows students to participate individually with faculty and gain more from the program. We have, again, a good number of faculty that work with students individually on research, and I think that also sets us apart. So small class sizes, low faculty to student ratio, faculty visibility. We're full-time faculty committed to teaching in our foundation. Yes, we have some part-time faculty. They do teach courses that are in our categorical areas, but no part-time faculty member is committed. We don't allow part-time faculty to teach in those areas where students are required to take classes. So those are just some of the areas I think that kind of set us apart.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question is there a fast track for the clinical psychology track?
I'm not sure exactly what that means.
I think it just means is there like an accelerated program per se? I don't believe that there is.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. That isn't to say that we're always thinking about ways to enhance the development of a program that would include our undergrads. And part of our strategic plan is within the department to think about these combined programs. And I think that they're very valuable, and I think that they would be very beneficial, but we don't have anything right now that isn't that we're not working on it. Mhm,
Sounds good to me.
mhm.
So if you wanted to study disabilities, what psychology kind of umbrella would that be under?
Oh my. Oh, that's an excellent question too. Clinical psychology, and I would say the psychology in the diversity area.
Mm,
You would work, yeah, we have once in a while, we have special topic classes that come up that deal with different types of disabilities. But yes, definitely. I would say those two areas, more clinical
mm.
related, but also diversity related as well.
So another good question is what sort of internships do you know of off the top of your head, or that would be good for students that are interested in legal and forensic psychology? And then with that, could you also talk a little bit more about the forensic mental health counseling master program?
I can do both. At the
Perfect.
undergraduate level, some of the uh, internship experiences in a legal, here I go because I'm a legal psychologist. There's a very big difference between legal and forensic psychology. Legal psychology is focused more on factors that present themselves during a trial, that are trial participant oriented, that deal with verdict, whether it's civil or criminal. Forensic is more clinical in nature. So it's more about involuntary hospitalization of the mentally ill. It's more about expert testimony in situations of childhood abuse. So you see where I'm going with the difference between the two? One would be more clinical, the other would be more legal. Now, some of our legal undergraduate internships have been quite interesting, and many of them are in legal settings, district attorney offices, prosecutor's office, where students work with victim advocacy uh, uh, individuals who are professionals in the field. Some of the forensic would be, for example, the Rhode Island Training School, where they have a particular focus of, what's the word I'm looking for? Population, the juvenile population, and students get experience working there. The
Mm.
other was the FMHC, right? The Forensic Mental Health Counseling Program. Is that
Yes.
what I heard? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That's a 60 credit program in which students are full-time enrolled. They go through the entire year, which means summer as well. And you take courses within the cohort. And after 2 years of taking courses in the classroom and working in the field, internship and practicum, you're what we would call license ready. And that
Mm.
means that regardless of the state, you don't have to necessarily reside in Rhode Island. You're coming here from North Carolina. You like our program. You take this 60 credit program. And then when you finish the program, the requirements are the remaining number of hours that you need to work supervised in a field. But as far as your
Mm.
coursework goes, the courses would satisfy the categories that would allow you to register for sitting for your counseling exam, because you become certified as a mental health counselor.
Cool. Thank you.
Did that answer?
Yeah, that's perfect. So I have a couple of students asking about double majoring, triple majoring, majors and minors within psychology and some other majors. So I'm just going to give you kind of like a brief overview of how that works. So about 80% of our students will graduate with more than one major. So double majoring is totally possible. At Roger Williams, you have a core curriculum, which is designed for you to take 5 classes in a subject that's completely separate from your major. So for me, for example, I was a marine biology major and I chose Spanish as my core concentration. And then I just took 1 extra class. So if you take 6 classes in that, it becomes your minor. So students come out with majors and minors in 2 completely separate things. My most favorite thing about being a student at Roger Williams and the experiences that you have is that you can, whatever you're passionate about and whatever you want to major in, they do a really great job at putting those 2 things together. So you can come out with majors and minors, double majors in 2 completely separate subjects. Your education is really geared towards you and what you want to learn. So anybody thinking about double majoring, majoring and minoring, that stuff is built into your curriculum. So it wouldn't necessarily be a ton of like extra work for you to have a double major or a major and minor, anything along those lines. It's kind of all built into your curriculum. I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Dr.
No. I'm just looking at this question, which is an excellent question too. Does
Yeah.
Roger Williams allow other
Mm-hmm.
majors
Yeah.
credit Carrie, that's a very good question. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say that it depends on the major. So for example, when students double major with criminal justice, we each have a research methods class. That's both of them are required.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases, if you're a major with legal studies and you have set up a legal internship, we would allow that to carry over into psychology as your psychology internship. So you work within the department, you work with the department chair to see where in some cases the courses would count. And of course, by us saying that they would count means that you then have extra credits that you would have to make up to 120 by the time you graduate. But that's a very good question. It depends on the course, it depends on the major. And I've seen it work through many different ways, but that's an excellent question.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then again, we have another question about like the type of computer or like iPad Pro. I'm not sure what that is. Probably bad that I don't know what that is. But I had a laptop, but if you wanted to have some sort of tablet, what I did was I brought my tablet to class and I'd pull up presentations on it that the professor was doing, just so I could kind of go at my own pace, because sometimes it took me longer to write some stuff down. So that's kind of what I used like my tablet for. And the library has computers. So if you just wanted to bring a tablet and then use the computers in the library, you can kind of work through that. I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have a laptop, but of course, you know, it is nice to have one. So that's kind of up to you on that. Another question is, I was thinking about pairing psychology and public health. What are our thoughts on putting those two things together?
Well, I think it's a great idea. And you know, it's becoming more and more popular. And psychology and public health offer a BS as well as a BA. The BS is going to require that you take more immunology classes, more bio-related classes. The BA is very popular, but they have been paired quite well with psychology. You know, public health stands alone as a major and a minor as well. But if you're a psychology major and you want to double major in public health, it's becoming very, very popular. It's a very marketable degree. And we find students doing more of the BA than the BS, but students are doing both.
Awesome. I agree with that completely. Okay, so let's see. Another question is, I've gotten a couple of questions about AP psychology. So
Right.
Could you maybe talk about AP psychology and like what would that mean for like coming into Roger Williams?
I'm there 15 years. All I've seen is placement out of intro. I haven't seen, I haven't seen any other course, but I have, and I would say 4. Felicia, you might know better than I am, because you deal more with students coming in.
Right. Yeah. So
4 or better. Yeah.
Yeah. That thing I was referencing in the course catalog will tell you like what sort of you get on the placement exam and what class it would replace. So if it could be a 4, it could be a 5, and then potentially that could get you out of that intro class that she just mentioned. So I would definitely take a look at the course catalog, because I don't remember the number that you would get on the AP exam to right off the top of my head. Let's see. So another double major question about psychology and theater. Any thoughts on that, and what would potentially people do with a psychology and a theater major?
I haven't seen it, and I wouldn't.
Definitely possible though.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what the opportunities are, but that doesn't necessarily mean. I had a student email me the other day who simply took one art therapy class with us and is interested now in expanding art therapy to certain types of physical science areas. And I thought it was very, very interesting and something I hadn't seen before. So certainly something worth researching, but my personal experience is I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and exactly what she said about students combining very specific things. It's definitely a possibility at Roger to really put together like 2 completely separate things and make an entire career out of it, which I think is one of the major strengths of our university. Let's see what else. Does it cost more money to double major? It doesn't cost more money. It's the same. You're taking like the same amount of classes, the same amount of credits and stuff like that. So it doesn't cost extra to have a second major. This is a good one. So I've actually heard this more frequently lately. Do we have any faculty studying movement therapy?
Not in the psychology department.
So I know that there is a faculty member in the dance program who's very interested in movement therapy and movement theory and that kind of stuff. So I would recommend, I can probably look it up in a minute or two and find her contact information. But she is one of the dance faculty members. So if you wanted to reach out to one of the members in the dance faculty, they might be able to put you with her. And she does a lot of stuff with movement therapy and movement stuff. Let's see. How would your schedules be best set up for the year as an incoming freshman? So like maybe what does freshman year look like in regards to the types of classes that they're taking?
30 credits, 15 each semester. As far as psychology is concerned, intro in the first semester, we would try to get you 200 level class in your second semester. You're going to be taking core because you don't want to be taking core as juniors. So by core, I mean our general education requirements. Students, it can be confusing when you talk about core with respect to core concentration as well as university general education. And we do our best to try to place you, because you'll see at orientation, your schedules will be in place, but for 1 to 2 classes that you're filling in. They will most likely be a reserve spot in intro for majors. And in your second semester, we try to bring you to our most popular classes among freshman students are theories of personality, an introduction to psychotherapy, the psychology of work, and child development. But also keep in mind that we want you to complete the math requirement. So we're looking to put you in Math 124 as well, so that in your second year, you can start thinking about quantitative analysis. Sometimes students are shell-shocked after basic stats. So we say, take a break first semester, sophomore year, take quantitative analysis in the spring. But I would say 1 to 2, 1 to 3 psychology classes in your first year.
Perfect. Thank you. So they're asking about sign language. So sign language, I believe we have as a minor. If not, it's definitely a core concentration. And you can take 5 classes in the sign language realm. And that would be considered one of your core concentrations. So it is more than just one class. There's different levels and everything. So our sign language program is actually pretty popular, and students absolutely love our sign language program. So if you're interested in that, that's definitely possible.
I've never seen such excitement over a program like I see with our sign language program. I understand the individual who takes control of these classes, the professor, is so engaging. It's come such a long way at Roger Williams in such a short period of time that if you're thinking about it, do it, because you will have the best experience. You'll have the best experience with it.
That's exactly what I've heard about him too. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would.
Oh, believe me, me too.
For sure. Okay, so it looks like we have 2 more questions. So one is about dual enrollment classes and how those credits will transfer. So again, the photography one, writing, and sociology, if you're taking any sort of class at a college level, like an accredited university, the registrar works their best to get you the credits for that class. And again, it's kind of all through the registrar, and go to that course catalog that I mentioned and kind of look at that and see what it would place. But the registrar does work their best to get students the types of credits, that they're taking at the college level in high school. And then the last question is, how are the professors in psychology and how's the workload? So the homework, tests, projects, that kind of stuff.
Well, that's a great question to sign off with. They're the best bunch of colleagues I've ever worked with. They are committed to students. We are the most student-centered faculty, and I've been at a couple of different universities. And by student-centered, I mean directed towards making sure that the material that is being relayed in class is beneficial to the learning outcomes and gets you to the next level. As far as the workload, you're going to do a little bit of work. It's college, and it depends. You'll see some more requirements as you're advancing towards your 200 and 300 levels. Certainly, there'll be more requirements in your foundation classes, QA, methods, and experimental, than there would be in your category classes. But there are so many resources. There are our student centers are fantastic for working with students, and that's what the faculty are here for, to help you get through, you know, some of those times where you might be a little bogged down with tests and homework. And of course, using the computer website, Bridges, materials are available to students, and students reach out to other students for materials. And so I think, you know, it is work, but it's manageable.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
So does anybody have any last minute, any other questions for myself or for, I cannot say Professor Platania in the comments.
There you go. You just did.
Professor Platania. Any questions that anyone can think of? I'm put our contact information in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, you know, feel free to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to her. One more question is, when do we register for classes? So that's all gonna happen at orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully in June, we'll have students on campus for orientation. And at orientation, you meet with an academic advisor and you register for classes at orientation.
Very good.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for coming. Dr. Platania, thank you so much for your presentation.
Well, thank you.
Questions, just feel free to reach out to us.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.